Hello, welcome back to the Radical Podcast. Thanks for tuning in again. We're back with radical ideas about the world, radical ideas about how we see each other, and why the world needs to shift in a radical way. Today we're going to talk about the U.S. presidential election that is proceeding in front of the world, and why this is something new and different. This is something that we haven't seen before. It might seem familiar, the showmanship, the glitz, the way it's all presented. It's all been done before. But what we haven't seen before are two candidates with massive momentum behind them that both represent an enormous shift from status quo. You have on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders, a populist, man of the people, someone who knows what it's like to be poor. This is something that you don't see in a presidential campaign, typically. Certainly not getting into this stage of the campaign. And you have Donald Trump, eccentric billionaire or millionaire. People are divided as to his net worth, but someone who is most definitely outside of the party line as far as the Republicans go. He is radical. Some would say in the wrong way, but we're not really going to debate merits, at least not at this point in the conversation. I just want to talk about what it represents, the symbolism behind the momentum between these two candidates. If you take the percentage of the electorate currently poised to vote for Donald Trump and the percentage of the electorate currently poised to vote for Bernie Sanders, I promise you, you will have a formidable majority in the United States. Now, those two sides probably won't come together on any candidate. Just the way the system's set up. It's full of false dichotomies. But the point is that a formidable majority of Americans want radical change. Now, I don't believe they're yet at the point where they're ready to admit that the system itself is faulty and that the radical change needs to happen on a systemic level. Right now, they're going to put their hope and their optimism in the hands of one of those two candidates. And change will occur as a result. Even if neither of those two candidates becomes the next president of the United States, change has already begun. The conversations that have started online and in the media, those aren't going to end just because, for example, Hillary Clinton is elected. In fact, they'll probably only increase. The transformation that we're looking at through this could not have occurred in any other climate. The desire for change is coming out of a recognition that things can be different. For the longest time, Americans especially, but the entire world, could be sold the idea that things are the way that they are because it's the only way they can be. Because it's the only way they've ever been. With the advent of the internet, radical ideas get disseminated farther and faster than ever before. Brilliant people have an outlet. Brilliant people, very, very clever people, have the opportunity to make themselves heard. When before, you would have to depend on a publisher or a newspaper, a reporter who wanted to do a feel-good story, if you wanted to propose anything that was outside of the establishment. Now, anyone can. Anyone can be media. Anyone can produce media. So long as you have a basic device with a camera and a microphone. This is important because it means that more diverse ideas are circulating. More diverse ideas are being considered, entertained by people. And it gets the thoughts churning. It makes us realize that human potential has been untapped for such a long time that it's been shoved into a box that it doesn't fit in. And we can see that by working outside of what we've already accepted, we can create things that are much better. We can see that by working outside of retail stores, the average person can have a marketplace with very little overhead, and they can just focus on what they love doing. And they can sell things online and make a living doing something they love. That's just one example. But the point is that everything today is about breaking the old systems, even if we haven't yet acknowledged it. The changes we see, the strip malls shutting down, the world is becoming a village where we can all access information. That makes us hungry for more information. The more information you get, the more you want. Because the more answers you find, the more questions get raised. So they've opened up Pandora's box in a sense. The establishment has, and giving the old DARPA framework of the internet to the world and allowing academics to open it up and make it something anyone can use. That's what we've got today. We've got something anyone can use. And that has unlocked a great deal of imagination. And it's with imagination that we think things can be different, or we even think they should be. The more inspiration we have, the more brilliant people throwing out ideas, the more ideas we will have, because we'll have more to go on. So, how does this come back to Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders? Well, before, if one of them proposed an idea, something radical, shifting taxes, raising taxes on everyone. When was the last time you heard a presidential candidate say that? Well, Sanders did, and people are actually thinking about it. Sanders is advertising himself as a democratic socialist. He's branded himself a socialist, and people want that in the United States. Now, that is a tectonic shift. Donald Trump is suggesting some very radical ideas. Building a wall on the Mexican border, deporting Muslims, restricting their ability to come into the United States. Now, I don't agree with these, but they are radical. And people are entertaining them. People are entertaining these ideas because they are tired of being told what can't be done for bureaucratic or political reasons. Now, Donald Trump's ideas, the contrast between his ideas and those of Bernie Sanders is very, very clear. Donald Trump proposes radical ideas propelled by fear. If you listen very closely to the words he's saying, be scared unless you've got me, because I'm strong and I'll protect you. But the rest of these guys, they're wimps. They won't protect you. You should be scared. They won't protect your jobs. You should be scared. They won't protect your life. You should be scared. Now, Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, his radical ideas are propelled by love. Now, I don't want to put the man on a pedestal. He's just a man. But he has very, very strictly stuck to love. His entire life, from everything that we can see, Bernie Sanders has been a man of love. And I think that's where his confidence and his faith in people come from. As I say, both of them represent a radical shift. The question now is whether people are going to radically shift towards love or radically shift towards fear. We can see where fear is a path of destruction. Moreover, if we take it back a notch, if we look at consciousness, what we've already discussed, the oneness of everything, the illusion of division, the illusion of separation. Fear has power because we believe that we are separate or divided from one another. We believe that we are, each of us, floating independently from one another. But when we recognize that we're all connected, we're all one, that every single one of us is intricately dependent on one another, then we can very, very clearly see that love is the default. Love is the fabric of what we're in. It's connection. Oneness. Caring about another as you care about yourself. That's love. Wanting as much happiness for another person as you want for yourself. That's love. Or more. We want that because we see them as ourselves. We see them as an extension of ourselves. But that perspective, the one that you have on your friends, your family, your partner, your children, that love extends to everyone, whether or not you admit it. This is why you can be disappointed by people that you don't know. This is why you can be hurt by people you don't know. Because you know they're part of you, and they're denying it. They're denying their connection to you. They're denying you a connection to them. And it hurts. Being denied that connection hurts. Being denied love hurts. And it makes us scared, feeling isolated, feeling alone. It's where fear comes from. Feeling hurt makes us feel scared, vulnerable. And with that fear, with that vulnerability, comes protectiveness, defensiveness. So now we've gone over a little bit about love and fear. The origin of fear being a sense of disconnection. The origin of love being a sense of connection. We can begin to see a little bit of the strength of both Trump and Sanders. They're both preying on powerful... Sorry, I shouldn't say preying. They're both using powerful, primal emotions that are at our core. Trump's followers produce much more visceral reactions. It's because that's what fear does. Fear provokes strong reactivity. If you've got your arm caught in a trap and you feel a threat, you're going to react much more aggressively than if your arm doesn't feel trapped, if you don't feel trapped. Why? Because you're scared. You're more scared. You feel weaker. Well, there's many people who feel trapped. And it's very easy to see why they're feeling scared. It's because they've been sold a lesson that they are separate, that they are disconnected, that they are on their own. You're poor, get a job. Get a job. You're on your own. You gotta look out for yourself. You're being bullied? Well, stand up for yourself. That's your responsibility. You're on your own. That's the mindset that produces fear. It lives in fear. You gotta look out for yourself, because everyone's out to get you. Not only does the mindset not line up with how people actually behave and what actually motivates people, but it's self-defeating. Nobody exists in a vacuum, and no one's on their own. No one's independent. We all depend on each other. We all need each other, whether you think you do or not. You know, you need nature. We're all part of nature, whether you think you are or not. Now, Bernie Sanders gets the connection. To be clear, I don't really trust politicians. I think that there's something about the search for power, the quest for it, that is absolutely corrupting. However, if there's anyone who I believe has somehow managed to escape that, it's got to be Bernie Sanders. Because ego to him is not that powerful, so it seems. He doesn't seem to have any aspirations for massive wealth and comfort and luxury. And what he said repeatedly is a very, very clear message. Not me, us. This is for us. He recognizes the collective. He recognizes the interdependency. That is a very clear line between him and Donald Trump. You see, both of these people are just symbols. Now, they both have a message, to be sure. Everyone's got a message, though. What we have to look at is why their message has been lifted up by so many people with so much energy. And how can we unite these two disparate perspectives? Well, love is water and fear is fire. And love vanquishes fear. Just like when you were a kid and you were scared and you had a nightmare and you went and you crawled in with your mom and dad and they gave you love. And your fear maybe didn't go away altogether, but it definitely diminished and definitely made it better. Love vanquishes fear. It makes us feel safe. So it's love that's going to win out over fear, if we can summon it in ourselves. If we can remember how connected we all are. We're watching the same conflict play out in politics that is playing out in the human psyche, in consciousness. It's all the same. The battle between love and fear. Your anxieties, all of your anxieties that play out in your head, are telling you to be scared, to watch out, because everything's after you. That's from a fairly solid evolutionary base, whereas if you were out in the woods by yourself, everything was out to get you. And that perspective in our primal stages, I'm sure, was very useful, and it's why we're here today. But the world has changed, and it no longer serves that purpose unless, of course, you go out into the woods in a predator-infested area. But otherwise, fear and anxiety works against you. That's why we all must love. Strongly, openly. And recognize that love is strength, not weakness. If you're in a war zone, it's actually the love of your fellow soldiers that gets you through. It's not the hatred of the enemy, it's not the anger, it's not the fear. It's the love. That's what makes you fight. To protect the people you love. Now, it's fear that makes us think we have to fight. But it's love that keeps us together. And that's true anywhere, any crisis situation. Love overcomes fear, and it makes us work together. That's why Bernie Sanders' message of not me, us, we are Bernie, they all speak to something bigger than just the presidential election. So does Donald Trump's fear. It's all bigger. It's all the human condition playing out in front of us on TV screens. The whole is being represented in these two. And this isn't, to be clear, just an American thing. This is a human thing. That's why the whole world's watching. And that's why everyone's watching with bated breath. Because we're trying to see if love is going to win or if fear is going to win. And if Hillary Clinton wins, then guess what? That's just apathy. And it means that apathy, this time around, was stronger in the United States than love or fear. I don't think that's going to happen. It might. If it does, then next time it won't. That's for sure. And you might even see an eruption before then. Before the next election. But in the meantime, we can just watch. I have faith that love will always win at the end of the day against fear. And I have faith that that's the lesson that humanity is learning right now. But we'll watch this expression of the cosmic battle of love and fear. We'll watch it play out over the next so many months. 10? Yes, till November. And we can know the whole time that we're watching a transformation happening of humanity. We're seeing it represented before everyone's eyes. And we'll see many more such things. If you look at any sector of society, I promise you, you'll see the shift happening. If you open your eyes to see it. But today, the U.S. election was a great way to highlight the differences between love and fear. And a great way to highlight the discontent that everyone is feeling unconsciously within the collective unconscious itself with how things currently are. Thanks for listening to the Radical Podcast today. Next time, we'll talk about hallucinogens and about the transformative power of expanding your mind. We'll talk about ancient traditions with hallucinogenics and other methods of expanding your consciousness, of gaining insight or diverse perspective. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, your dislikes and likes, your death threats in response to this episode of the podcast. I always want to hear feedback, folks. Good, bad, more so bad. If you think there's something I should be talking about, or if I'm missing a point, please let me know. Thanks for listening to the Radical Podcast. I'm Ryan McKenna. Have a great day.